The title of this edition of the Biennial is Not All Travelers Walk Roads, of Humanity as a Practice. We borrowed the title from a fantastic poem by Conceição Evaristo with the title Da Calma e do Silêncio. And she ends the poem by saying, not all travelers walk roads. There are submerged worlds that only the silence of poetry penetrates. Helped us to conceive this edition of the Biennial as a portal, as a threshold, as an entry point into these submerged worlds that only the silence of poetry can penetrate, you know. And as you know, the silence of poetry is very, very, very loud. You know, it's like an invitation to get off the beaten track, to get off, you know, the kind of pre-defined tracks, predefined roads, you know, to get off these colonial structures that have been forced upon us, that have been fed, you know, pushed down our throat, and imagine other paths, imagine other ways of being. The different ways that artists around the world bring to the fore things that are important to them, you know, question their realities, question socio-political structures, and consider each other as human, and try to rethink and rebuild this notion of humanity. And I think if we look at the world that way, we'll stop dehumanizing others. We'll stop looking at others as subhuman. Biennial will be structured in 3 different fragments or 3 different pathways or portals. So I wanted to get people in the conceptual team from different geographies, you know, different conceptual orientations, but have curators that really, whose practices are based on generosity.
Within the last few hundred years, Western society have really dominated the way we think, the way we behave, the way we are with each other, kind of structures within society. And we're at a point where we really understand that those ideals have come to a downfall. Listening is a practice that takes oneself a step back. So listening is an act of passiveness, passive activation, of listening to one another, listening to different voices, to other voices of different opinions. And listening we don't, not only with our ears, it's with our whole body. We're so used to following our eyes. The sense of our eyes, the visual sense, has been so dominant. We believe what's true is what we see. But if we close our eyes, we also learn, or kind of re-experience, a very different way of being in contact with our surrounding. And that's something that's going to be very important within the biennial, and we invited several artists who are focusing on these ideas. The act of listening can, in all of us, kind of bring up memories of the past. And that's something that we're very, very interested.
René Depetre, in La conscience en fleurs pour autrui, starts this poem saying, ma joie est de savoir que tu es moi et que moi je suis fortement toi. And my joy is to know that you are me and I am strongly you. I cannot exist if you don't exist, or I cannot find the joy in existing without recognizing your existence and your existence in me and my existence in you. In the sense that we are never alone, that humanity is something to remember and reinvent based on ancestral knowledge, and to remember that this is not a static thing where, for instance, thinking about Leo Ansemota, where he asked the question, when you look at the mirror, who do you see? This myth, this construction that you see only yourself as a single individual, but we can also push it a little bit further, saying a single nation state. It is a practice, an ongoing, a never-ending practice in relation to other people all the time, in relation to the earth, in relation to the soil, in relation to all the beings that are here.
O estuário é uma metáfora que a gente pegou, se apropriou para pensar que a gente queria que essa exposição fosse, que a gente queria como essa exposição se parecesse, né? Se a gente entender o que é um estuário, né? Um espaço de encontro de diversas águas, onde diversos tipos de organismos, de seres vivem, sejam eles vegetais, animais, e que também é um ponto de encontro onde diferentes populações humanas circulam, se alimentam, criam. Por tantos encontros, é um lugar muito fértil, um lugar de muita criação, é um lugar de tensão também, mas é que a tensão que surge de encontros de diferentes possibilidades. Como todo lugar de encontro, ou na verdade talvez como os melhores encontros, é um lugar em que vida pode brotar. A metáfora do estuário ajuda a gente a pensar, a imaginar também o que acontece como parte da programação da 36ª Bienal para além do pavilhão, né? Um exemplo é a parceria com a Casa do Povo, que vai ser uma espécie de estuário que, em colaboração com eles, nós vamos apresentar uma programação ao longo de 2025. E essa programação acontece também pré-abertura da Bienal em diferentes cantos do mundo.
As invocações, elas são parte do braço curatorial, conceitual e prático, que consiste em uma abertura do programa público antes da abertura oficial aqui dentro do pavilhão. A gente vai estar em 4 lugares diferentes, no globo terrestre, em 4 países diferentes, pensando conceitos voltados especificamente para esses locais, mas numa conjunção que conflui com a ideia grande conceitual, com um grande guarda-chuva conceitual, que é pensar as humanidades em prática, né? Imaginar a humanidade como verbo, imaginar as práticas como soluções e realizações das humanidades. As invocações vão acontecer em 4 países diferentes, em Marrocos, em Guadalupe, na Tanzânia e no Japão. Em cada um desses lugares a gente pensou e imaginou e trocou com pessoas, artistas, professores, cientistas, músicos, dançarinos, pessoas que estão desenvolvendo práticas que confluem com os nossos conceitos que foram pensados a partir dos locais. Então a gente tem 2 dias de conversas, aulas, apresentações, performances, filmes que passam. Então a gente constrói para cada lugar um desenho específico das invocações.
The visual concept is inspired by the idea of humanity as a practice, emphasizing interconnectivity, empathy and creative coexistence. While each sound wave with its unique textures and frequencies embodies the frenetic energy of communities and cultures rotating and pivoting around each other. So this visual manifestation reinforces the biennial's core message that through intentional listening and deep reflection we can reimagine humanity as a living and breathing practice. It's Studio Yukiko, a studio from Berlin. They are an office of graphic designers and artists who are working very conceptually, very research-based, strategically together with us in trying to bring across the wonderful concept of the Biennale into a visual design. They are working with a lot of love and inspiration, which is something that unites them a lot with this biennial. We have so many participants coming from everywhere, so there was this movement that we wanted to be mirrored in the font, and I think this wonderful spiraling font that Yukiko invented is a wonderful reflection of that.